cars assembled down there on what is the 150th ADAC GT Masters race. What a milestone. What a race in prospect. Huge crowd here at Oschersleben to enjoy the race action, as you can see. And the whole hour-long race about to unfold in front of us. Weather is pretty nice. Sunshine. A lot of wind around, which is making it quite cold, but nonetheless, the podium, as you can see, is packed with onlookers ready to enjoy the racing. Qualifying this morning, which set the grid for race number 2, coming up in just a few moments' time. Well, something I said in the race yesterday was that you can look at the form guide and the results of race number 1. It gives you no indication of what's going to happen in race number 2. And sure enough, that was the case. The race yesterday won by Jaminet and Ammermuller. Porsche, P2 were McDowell and Backler for Porsche. And P3, Mies and De Filippi, the champions in Audi. Well, Philipp Eng this morning during qualifying put the car on pole position. And it's going to be Robert Renard and Sven Muller P2 on the grid. Jules Gounon and Daniel Karwitz go from P3 with Mappelli and Siedler in the Lamborghini Huracan going from P4 with P5 also Lamborghini Huracan, but run by the GRT Grasser Racing Team, that of Mirko Bortolotti and Ezequiel Perez Companc, who, of course, took part in, with Mirko Bortolotti as well, took part in the Blancpain race at Monza last weekend, and Ezequiel Perez Companc involved very much in the skirmishes that happened right at the very start through no fault of his own. It would appear Ezequiel Perez Companc, I can remember making his GT racing debut in the One Make Ferrari Challenge series. So we wish him well for this afternoon. So 5 minutes board has been shown, and the 57-minute race about to get underway. The cars lining up, as you can see, in Le Mans style before they're released on their formation lap. New feature for ADAC GT Masters for 2017. And as I said, a real milestone, as this is the 150th race. So grid girls make their way off the grid. Most of the engineers have done so, and it will be down to the drivers now for this ADAC GT Masters race number 2. Driver change to come midway through the race, between 25 and 35 minutes into the race itself. And front row made up of the BMW M6 car, engineered by Schnitzer Motorsport, Charlie Lamb here, and Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard, the 2 drivers. Philipp Eng, of course, champion in both Carrera Cup and Super Cup. Also raced in VLN and many other categories as well, including the ADAC Formula BMW Junior Series. And he teaming up with the young star Ricky Collard, son of Rob Collard, who races in the British Touring Car Championship, and grandson of the late Mick Collard, oval racing Supremo in the UK. So the Collard family, well known in racing circles, and Ricky is, along with his brother as well, who's doing well, but Ricky being picked up as a BMW junior driver and taking full advantage of that. And he has a great tutor alongside him, Philipp Eng. And both of them joined me on air yesterday for an ADAC Formula 4 race. And I'd like to think that it was perhaps that provocation that gave them the gusto to take pole position today. They were 2 100ths quicker than Robert Renard and Sven Muller. It was Sven Muller in qualifying this morning. Of course, Sven Muller and Philipp Eng both having raced. And there is Ricky Collard just alongside the number 42 car. There's Robert Renard, teammate to Sven Muller. Sven Muller and Philipp Eng, of course, racing in Porsches together. Then we see Jules Gounon there, bespectacled with his sunglasses on. Daniel Karwitz will be in the number 77 car. Next up, it's Norbert Siedler. And then the Ezequiel Perez Companc, you can see there, who's sporting a beard now as we go down all the cars. The Dennis Marshall, Patrick Niederhauser Audi. Then it is the number 48 Indy Donchin Marvin Koshofer car. Jeffrey Schmidt, Christopher Haas. And of course the number 20 Mercedes-Benz of Nikolai Rogovy and Nikolai Sylvestre. Then a returnee, of course, in the 84 car is Maximilian Goertz with Patrick Assenheimer. And the rest of the cars as moped cam goes along. The cars all lined up, ready to get going. Former champion Luca Ludwig teams up in the number 21 car with Luca Stoltz this year for the AMG Zaxpeed engineered AMG GT3 car. And there is the number 36 machine of Alex McDowell and Klaus Bachler that finished P2 yesterday. Much further down in the qualifying order than they would like to be, and reinforcing what I said yesterday about can't read too much into the result of the race in terms of the form guide for what is going to happen on race day 2. So the cars roar into life now and about to leave on their formation lap. We'll give you the grid in full as we can see Michaela Arlene Kodolinski there in the car of the Audi Sport Racing Academy, along with Ricardo Fella. And then the number 22, Remo Lips, Patrick Heusmann, Nissan GTR Nismo GT3, which has really been involved in the dramas this weekend. All started off in the free practice session on Friday when the car was on fire in the pit lane. So they're the runners and the riders, if you like, for the ADAC GT Masters Race 2, the 150th in the C series that has such a stalwart around the German circuits. Fantastic racing from the ADAC GT Masters, the League of Super Sports Cars with some phenomenal drivers and phenomenal cars as well. So the Maximilian Goertz fan club are there in full effect. And thousands of fans here to enjoy this ADAC GT Masters race. Weather conditions, as I say, probably just about perfect. Could do with being 1 or 2 degrees warmer, it has to be said, and the wind dropping a little bit, but it's bone dry and with very little harmless high cloud above, as you can see. Expect to be troubled by any of the wet stuff. Right, cars away on their formation lap then. Brilliant way of starting the races now. The cars all line up in grid order, but parked up Le Mans style. And then they're all released, as you can see, for their formation lap. And behind the safety car, they form up into their grid positions before the rolling start for the ADAC GT Masters. And we'll bring you the grid in full along the bottom of your screen in just moments from now. Stand by. The GT Masters race number 2 then of the weekend is about to get underway. So as the cars weave from side to side to try and generate a bit of warmth into those tyres. The temperatures, as I mentioned, not high here. Track temperature is about 30 degrees. Its air temperature is 14, 15. Cars on their formation lap through the first chicane, through turns 8 and 9 and 10. And another shot of the vast crowd here. From Oschersleben, we head off next to the Lausitzring with that big motorsport festival where the cars teamed up with DTM and then Red Bull Ring, Zandvoort, Nürburgring, Sachsenring and Hockenheim. And who can forget the dramas of the final at Hockenheim last year? Well, GT Masters bound to deliver as much drama during the course of the season this year. 2017, the opening round here at the Lausitzring. So second formation lap. It's again to try and generate some warmth into those tyres. We're on board with Sven Muller. Teams up with Robert Renard and the Preco Herbert car. Porsche 911 GT3R. Left-hander now into the hotel turn, which is turn number 1. Tricky turn to get absolutely right. It's even trickier when you've got a whole baying pack of cars coming in behind you as well. And off the back of turn 2, they head towards the Hasseröder turn, which is another tight left-hander. Turn number 3. Fantastic field of GT cars in the ADAC GT Masters. And as promised, here's the grid in full for you. It's Philipp Eng, pole position, Sven Muller alongside. That is row 1. Row 2 is Daniel Karwitz and Norbert Siedler. Then we find on row 3, it's Mirko Bortolotti and Patrick Niederhauser. Row 4, P7, P8, it's Kirchhofer and Christopher Haas. Then it's Nikolai Rogovu and Maximilian Goertz going from P9 and P10. P11 and 12, Christian Engelhardt and Markus Winkelhock. Then we find Christopher Mies and Kelvin van der Linde, P13 and P14. Luca Ludwig and Rahul Frey go on row 8 of the grid, and on row 9 it's Emil Lindholm and Alex McDowell, P18. They took P2 in the race yesterday, and the winners of the race yesterday, further down the order, row 10, there is the boss, Charlie Lamb of the BMW Schnitzer Motorsport car that's on pole position. The rest of the grid, as you can see on screen, rounding out at row 14. So on board with Sven Muller. Alongside him is that BMW M6 GT3 car engineered by Schnitzer Motorsport. As I said, we saw Charlie Lamb just a moment ago. The car combination driver-wise is Philip Eng, hugely successful driver, and the young star Ricky Collard from the UK. Safety car peels off. It's the responsibility then of the cars on the front row now to control the pace of the rolling lap as they head towards the timing line now, and the race is on. So ADAC GT Masters Race 2, Sven Muller looks to have got a slightly better start than Philip Eng, but Philip Eng will make that BMW as wide as possible and protect going through the hotel turn. That's exactly what he's done. Daniel Karvitz running wide around the hotel turn, but is able to close the door in time to prevent Norbert Siedler taking any advantage in the Lamborghini Huracan. So it is the BMW of Philip Eng that leads the way at the moment. Further down the order, some overtaking going on, already trying to make progress. Alex McDowell and Klaus Bachler's Porsche has run out wide. There is the AMG Zaxpeed Mercedes-Benz out onto the grass. What a phenomenal sight this is on the opening lap, but Philip Eng doing everything that he needs to do, and that is to try and build a little bit of a margin between himself and the number 99 Porsche of Sven Muller. So from hero to zero then for the number 36 Porsche of Alex McDowell and Klaus Bachler. Finished P2 yesterday, ending up on the grass there, as you can see, but have been able to rejoin. So cars all settling down into their stride before the completion of this first lap in the ADAC GT Masters race number 2 here of the weekend. At the Lausitz Ring, the opening round of the GT Masters, long season ahead, and stretching his legs now in the BMW M6 is Philip Eng, who crosses the timing line with a margin of some 1.28 seconds over Sven Muller already. Muller under pressure now from Daniel Karvitz as well in the Corvette. See how the cars really just pulled wide off the back of that hotel turn as they put the power down. The rest of the cars coming through the hotel turn now. Proves to be such a pinch point, and there you can see as tensions in the BMW garage, but Philip Eng doing the job absolutely correctly, and with a supreme margin already just on the opening lap of this ADAC GT Masters race. So it's Eng from Sven Muller, then it's Daniel Karvitz and Norbert Siedler as we get a replay of the start here. And just momentarily, Sven Muller had got his nose ahead of the BMW, but Philip Eng sticking his elbows out and making sure that he was going to go into the hotel turn and make that his, and indeed he did. Ezequiel Perez Compact taking a line around the outside. It's actually Mirko Bortolotti who, of course, is driving the car for this first stint. Kelvin van der Linde very much involved in the wars there. And alongside Luca Ludwig in the Mercedes. You just see the Luca Ludwig Mercedes-Benz. Ricky Collard applauds his teammate. His father Rob looking on in the background. We're on board with Christian Engelhardt, who goes for a spin in the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan. That in replay, we didn't see it live, so Engelhardt then rejoins right at the back of the pack. He'll be absolutely furious about that. So Engelhardt and Anaikon with a lot of work to do from the very back of the grid. And now, doing a great job up front, meantime, is Philip Eng, who's extended his lead to 1.488. Really does look very commanding in the BMW M6 in the early stages of this race, but still a long way to go, some 53.5 minutes, and driver change to come as well. We're on board with Kelvin van der Linde. And that excursion has cost dearly. So Kelvin van der Linde now looking at the back of that Lamborghini Huracan, which was not part of the plan, just pushed too hard. So Eng leading from Sven Muller. Trying to make way back up the order now is Christian Engelhardt. A battle there with the Porsche of Friedrich and Delina. Can look back at now, so up to P25. Certainly not where you would want to be, but in replay saw that spin earlier on for the Lamborghini Huracan, with work to do to get as far back up the order as possible. And there in replay was Kelvin van der Linde's off moment. Finding himself down there in P15 now. So trying to pick up. Safety car has been called. Is that the van der Linde car? No. The car of Dennis Marshall and Patrick Niederhauser is off, and that's why the safety car has been provoked. The same livery as the Aust Motorsport Kelvin van der Linde, which is why I wasn't prepared to call it until we'd actually seen which car it was. And Kelvin van der Linde, with form of having gone off already, did half wonder whether that was the van der Linde car, but not so. Well, this is bad news for Philipp Eng, truthfully, who'd built up a 1.8 second margin. Now, with the safety car having been called for, basically means all his margin is down to zero, because Sven Muller can be right on his gearbox once again, right on the back bumper of the BMW M6 GT3. So safety car picks them up. This for the recovery of the Dennis Marshall Patrick Niederhauser car, the Aust Motorsport Audi R8 LMS, which, as you can see, is down there in the gravel, but the recovery team are on it straight away. So hopefully the recovery is not going to be too long. And that's just as they go into turn number 7. So it's off the back of the triple where he's gone. So around turn number 7 now. And rather than lift the car, looks like they're going to drag it out. Daniel Karvitz we're on board with now, the Callaway competition driver, who's sat there in P3. Yesterday, of course, they only achieved a few racing laps because Jules Gounon and Daniel Karvitz's car ended up with a DNF. So, of course, who can forget the Jules Gounon, Daniel Karvitz car at the final of the ADAC GT Masters at Hockenheim last year. So, Philipp Eng is tucked in behind the safety car and the rest of the order, which, let's give you that order now. It's Philipp Eng, Sven Muller, Daniel Karvitz, Norbert Siedler. P5, the number 19 car of Mirko Bortolotti. Then in P6, it's Christopher Haas. P7 is the number 48 car of Kirchhofer. 8 is Maximilian Goertz. Nikolai Sylvest is P9, and Markus Winkelhock is P10. So the number 4 car is lifted in the end. The Patrick Niederhauser, Dennis Marshall car. Dennis Marshall, of course, former Audi TT Cup driver. So, whether it's quite possible that we'll get the safety car away at the end of this lap, probably might be a big ask. Of course, the recovered car and also the recovery team need to make their way to safety before they'll release the safety car. And slow going process through the gravel. So on board with the number 2 car, the car in position number 2, the 99 machine, the Precoat Herbert Porsche of Sven Muller. Racing with Robert Renault, Daniel Carvitz then in the Callaway competition Corvette CO7 GT3. A DNF yesterday. Wants to do much better than that today and is in a podium position at the moment. Okay, so safety car is coming in this lap. So Philipp Eng is going to back them all up and try and get a supreme restart as they go through the final chicane here. It's turns 11 and 12, Aman, and then heading towards turn number 13 and down towards the final turn, which is turn number 14. Gradually builds up speed. And Philipp Eng restarts the race then from Sven Muller, Daniel Carvitz, Norbert Siedler, Mirko Bortolotti. Who's going to make a move early on? Well, Haas has taken a look. Mirko Bortolotti then in the Lamborghini Huracan was taking a look. The RWT Racing Corvette just running out a wee bit wide at the hotel turn as the cars all come through. The top 12 cars all line astern. On board with Sven Muller chasing down the BMW M6 of Philipp Eng, who restarted absolutely perfectly. He's had to do that on so many occasions in his racing career. As he said to us on air yesterday, it's one quality that is so important, and that is experience, and by experience every single element of racing. And we thought we saw fluid coming out of that Porsche, and sure enough that is a retirement for the Ammer Muller Jaminet Porsche 911 GT3 R car. Bear in mind that car was the race winner yesterday. Extraordinary how ADAC GT Masters delivers such incredible racing, and as I've said more than once, the form guide from race 1 doesn't give you a form guide for race 2. The results of race 1 doesn't give you a form guide for race 2. Eng then really has got pace, 1.1 second margin over Sven Muller, who's now just beginning to feel the pressure of Daniel Carvitz. And it's Bortolotti, Norbert Siedler, then Haas, Kelvin van der Linde we go on board with in the number 3 car, who's running in P13, has managed to get past the number 66 car of Emil Lindholm, that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car, and is now hounding Luca Ludwig, 2 former champions together there, P12 and P13, Luca Ludwig and Kelvin van der Linde. Super slow-mo replay then, and that was how Kelvin van der Linde got the better of the number 66 car. Kelvin van der Linde's brother Sheldon is racing in the ADAC touring car series, a real van der Linde family affair here at Oschersleben this weekend. As well, in the KUS Team 75, Bernhard, the garage, taking a look at that stricken Porsche, which is out of the race. Philipp Eng then continues to build up that margin. It's now 1.7 seconds over this man that we're on board with now, Sven Muller, as we look back at the Daniel Carvitz car that's chasing down in P3. And this is what it's like from inside the Carvitz car. Not seemingly able to make a move on the Porsche. And those 3 cars really breaking away from the rest of the pack. Kelvin van der Linde we're on board with now, continues to chase down Luca Ludwig. It's P13 and P12. Now, Maximilian Gertz in the number 84 car, just gone through on your picture, running in P8. So we go back to that P13 battle between Kelvin van der Linde. And here is Kelvin van der Linde, who we go on board with now. The Zakspeed BMW ahead. Team run by Peter Sarkowski. Luca Ludwig this year in that number 21 car, teaming up with Luca Stolz as his teammate. Luca Ludwig, former champion. Running in P19 at the moment is the number 9 Audi. Christopher Hoer at the wheel. Having to fight his way back from the off earlier in the Lamborghini Huracan. Is up to P22 now. Rolf van Eycken will take over the driving when the driver changes come in. Rolf van Eycken and Christian Engelhardt in that number 63 GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan, which we saw out on the runoff area earlier. Engelhardt managing to get the car back out on track and pushing as hard as he can up the order right now. So leading that little gaggle, and at the back of that little gaggle, if you like, is the Stippler Ortmann car, two of the Mercedes together. Now there's the fluid that was coming out of the Matteo Jaminet Mikael Ammermuller car. Caused that car to retire. Back to the race leader, Philipp Eng, who's 1.8 seconds to the good up the road over Sven Muller. Then Daniel Karwitz is P3, Mirko Bortolotti P4, Norbert Siedler is P5, Christopher Haas is P6, and the number 48 car is P7, and Marcin Kosher and Inu Doncha. So Karwitz 8 tenths behind Sven Muller. And running in P9 is Nikolai Silvestre. You can just see in the Mercedes-Benz. There's Kelvin van der Linde continuing to chase down Luca Ludwig ahead. Is he going to go? Whoa. Ludwig quickly closed the door then. Kelvin van der Linde certainly just began to take a look at the inside, and this is one of the closest battles on track at the moment between these two. Both former champions in the ADAC GT Masters. And battling over that P12 position. We're 5.5 minutes away from the pit window opening for driver changes. It's Marcus Pommer that will take over the Aust Motorsport car of Kelvin van der Linde during that driver change. Van der Linde, just a tighter line, but window of opportunity is not left open wide enough by Luca Ludwig for Kelvin van der Linde to be able to take advantage of that. So, battle from the former champions, which is really, really enjoyable to watch. And of course, Ludwig is trying to chase down the Christopher Mies car ahead. Right in the middle of that battle, isn't he? That on board with Kelvin van der Linde, and give you this brilliant split-screen shot so you can see the car actually out on track and what it's like from inside the car as well. Kelvin van der Linde turns 14 now. Heads from turn 14 over the timing line and heads down to turn number 1 to start yet another lap here at the Oschersleben circuit. And Ludwig is getting a bit closer now to Mies in the number 1 car. Van der Linde just loses out on a car length or so over the last lap. Continue to show you this split screen. Very enjoyable. Number 24 car driven by Marcus Winkelhock, Philippe Salaquada. And back to this. Winkelhock is in the final points paying position at the moment at the head of this little battle. He's running in P10. In the meantime, P2, P3 as they were, Sven Muller and Daniel Karwitz. And up the road with a margin of some 2.7 seconds in P1 is Philipp Eng. BMW M6 GT3 car performing really, really well, and with a clear track ahead is untroubled. So Daniel Kravitz then, the Callaway competition car, has seemingly not been able to really bring anything to the Sven Muller car in P2, and then Mirko Bortolotti in the number 19 GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini Huracan, teaming up with Ezequiel Perez Companc, some distance back with Norbert Siedler in P5. So race leader, there is Sven Muller in P2, Daniel Kravitz in P3. Just looks like Norbert Siedler is getting a little bit closer to Mirko Bortolotti now. Battle going on for P4 and P5. So through the chicane, looking back at the roller livery to Daniel Kravitz car. Let's go on board with Daniel Kravitz now. Looking at the back end of the Sven Muller Porsche. Kravitz then just trying to eke out 100ths, trying to get closer to Sven Muller. Just a couple of minutes away from that driver change window, pit window opening. I wonder who's going to be in first of all and going to try their luck. Yesterday certainly had an effect on the end result as to when you chose to pit and when to do your driver change. Philip Eng now is romping away with just under 4 seconds of margin over Sven Muller. You can see the BMW just goes through on the picture, and it's a while before you see the Porsche that's running in P2. There you can see Eng with a clear track ahead of him, just nailing every single point and trying to drive as smoothly as possible to look after the tyres. It's going to be the BMW Junior, Ricky Collard, that will take over driving duties, and feel that Ricky is going to feel the pressure a bit getting into that car, knowing that Philip has done a supreme job, and he wants to maintain that. Kelvin van der Linde then continues his chase, and at the moment he's being denied by Luca Ludwig. Those two former champions together in P12 and P13. Very little between the two of them. Kelvin van der Linde shot to stardom here in Europe in the Sirocco R Cup. And feeling the pressure now is Lindholm in the number 66 car that's running in P14, and feeling the pressure from Christopher Zanella and the HB Racing WDS Bao Lamborghini Huracan. And Sebastian Ash and Frank Stippler in the two BWT Mucker Motorsport cars. One Mercedes, one Audi that are behind. So the pit window is open then. This is where the face of the race can change. In comes the RWT Corvette. Also coming in, the number 36 Porsche of Alex McDowell and Klaus Bachler. So the Schützer Motorsport Porsche and the driver change going on. Difference in the size between these two drivers, it has to be said. Whilst in the pit lane, engine off. You know that when the engine fires up again, the clock has been counted down, and there we go. Ready to get back out on track once again. Into gear, foot down, and go back out to rejoin the race action. There's the Corvette that we saw coming in. On its way out once again. race leader Philip Eng. Just turned turn number 3, the Hasseröder turn. A whole gaggle of cars coming in now, including the Luca Ludwig and Kelvin van der Linde cars, both in at exactly the same time. Kayla Arlen-Kodolinski, you can see standing by there. Luca Stoltz will get into the Luca Ludwig car and into the Kelvin van der Linde car. As we watch the Luca Stoltz, Luca Ludwig. Christopher Mee is also in. Cars started up once again. Marcus Pommer will be in the Audi that was driven by Kelvin van der Linde for the first stint of the race. The Connor De Filippi, Christopher Mee's car roars off now, heads down the pit lane. The number 44 machine of Mark and Dennis Bush, we can see there, on board with Marcus Pommer and the Mercedes-Benz. It's as they were, because the Mercedes-Benz is ahead of the Marcus Pommer car. Repeat of the battle that was going on earlier in the race. Philip Guy-Pal, Rahal Frey Audi, just receiving a little touch from the number 63 car of Christian Engelhardt. Made his way back up the order, and notwithstanding the pit stops that are going on, is actually running in P13 at the moment. Norbert Seidler's in the pit. Also in the pit is Sebastian Ash, and Rahal Frey has decided to pit as well. Ricardo Feller is also on as in the pit, as is Hofer. But there is our race leader, Philip Eng. And Ricky Collard will be standing by to jump into that BMW M6 GT3 car engineered by Schnitzer Motorsport that is leading the race by some 4.7 seconds. Chooses not to come in this time around. Going to do another lap. So there is Ricky standing by to get into that car. Philip Eng having done a fine job. And Ricky will continue in that vein, I'm sure, when he takes over the drive. Daniel Karlvitz and Sven Muller and Mirko Bortolotti, the top 4 have still not been in, nor has Maximilian Goertz or Nikolai Silvestre or Markus Winkelhock. So about half distance in the race, all told. ADAC GT Masters here at Oschersleben, the opening round of the weekend. It's race number 2. And the race being led by a new coming car into the ADAC GT Masters for 2016, the BMW, being driven by Philip Eng. We've just seen it go through on the picture. P2 is the Porsche of Sven Muller. P3 is the Corvette of Daniel Karlvitz. And there is the Mirko Bortolotti Lamborghini Huracan that is running in P4 currently. So the top 4 are all going to come in this time, potentially, or not. Well, we'll keep our eyes on those cars. No, going to stay out for another lap. Certainly that's the case with Philip Eng. Weren't quite able to see. Yeah, we can see now. Muller is going to do exactly the same and stay out there also. Attacking the curbs there. So Daniel Karlvitz and also Mirko Bortolotti also stay out. Now this is where it can cause problems, because it's going to be mired in traffic now of those cars returning back into race action. So the KUS Team 75 Bernhard car of Christopher Friedrich and Adrian Delina is out and down the pit lane. And there's a drive-through penalty for car number 50, which is the Rahal Frey Philip Guy-Pal car. Violation of Article 39.2, which from memory, I suspect means that the pit stop was not the mandatory time. But I might be wrong. So, Gertz is in. So too is Winkelhock. It's Patrick Assenheimer that will be taking over driving duties from Maximilian Gertz as the P1 and P2 cars stay out for another lap. By my reckoning, I reckon this is the last lap that they're going to be able to do before they're going to have to pit. So, Jules Gounon warming up to take over this drive. It's Daniel Karvitz that we're on board with, who is in P3. So Mirko Bortolotti has come in. So the car that was running in P4 has come in and taken over the driving duties will be Ezequiel Perez Companc in that Lamborghini Huracan. So on board with Daniel Karvitz now. Hopefully we'll stay with this pack of three because they're all going to be coming in together. So there is Sven Muller. Now the margin that Philipp Eng has created between himself and P2 is 6.1 seconds. So there you can see Jules Gounon. And in now comes the race leader, Philipp Eng. Long pit entry here at Oschersleben. So Philipp Eng in the BMW M6 GT3 are also in now Sven Muller. Presumably also coming in Daniel Karvitz. Fantastic. All three left it to the very last moment to come in, but they have done so. Now the one that could be vulnerable here could be Sven Muller because you can see how close Muller and Karvitz are. So Renault will take over the number 99 Porsche. There he is. And Jules Gounon will take over the drive in this. There is Jules Gounon. Propels Daniel Karvitz out of the car. It's Robert Renault. Sven Muller sprightly out of the car. And Ricky Collard, in the meantime, will be jumping into the BMW. It's been driven so well by Philipp Eng. So Jules Gounon then being plugged in, window net. So the Callaway competition car very, very close to that Porsche of Sven Muller. It could be a race out of the pit lane here. Of course, mandatory time has to be stuck to. You only need one element. You can see the BMW M6 GT3 making its way down the pit lane now. That's the race leading car. And the Corvette is ahead of the Porsche. Now, assuming that all the times were absolutely spot on, Karvitz's car, which is now driven by Jules Gounon, is ahead of the Porsche. So in the pit lane, a place gained. So the BMW is up the road as we would have expected it to be, given the margin that and there you can see from on board with Sven Muller, just shaded by the Corvette. Now, keep an eye on the message screen just to make sure that the times were absolutely spot on. No reason to suggest they weren't. It was always going to be close between the Corvette and the Porsche, and indeed it was. And actually, there is Sven Muller, and there is Daniel Karvitz. So Jules Gounon has put that car back into the P2 position. Or gained the P2 position from the Porsche that did occupy that position. Ricky Collard it is that drives the BMW M6 GT3, which we see center screen now. And everything will settle down into the second half of this race. 23.5 minutes of race action. So Robert Renault then will be desperately trying to wrestle that P2 position back from the Corvette ahead. Ezequiel Perez Companc is P4. So the only change in the top four then was with regards to P2. Now the margin between Collard and Jules Gounon is 7.37 seconds. There's two Lamborghinis together there. So I was just looking at the timing screen as that was overtake was going on. Marco Mappelli getting the better of Ezequiel Perez Companc and moving himself up into the P4 place. Patrick Assenheimer in the number 84 Mercedes-Benz behind, and then it's Nikolai Rogevu. Here it is again then. Just set that up perfectly on the Ezequiel Perez Companc car. Shut the door, job done. Now, interestingly, as you see there, the drive-through penalty for car number 50, which is the Guy Pell Rahal Frey car, which we knew about. What has just flashed up on my message screen is that car number 99 is under investigation for pit speeding. Now, that, of course, is the car of Robert Renauer and Sven Muller. Mercedes there? Yes, it is a Mercedes. The number 20 car of Sylvester Rogevu that has gone around. Just saw it. Now, how did that occur? Just unable to make the turn. No one else, nothing else involved, and that from that P7 position. So Nikolai Rogevu found himself out on the runoff area of the tarmac. So there's Sven Miller, who's looking at all the data. So pit speeding under investigation for that number 99 car. There is Ricky Collard, who's leading the race. That BMW M6 GT3 has looked really, really good through, looked very good in the two free practice sessions. Not so good in qualifying for race one, but then got it all back together again in qualifying this morning for this race by, of course, taking pole position. So the Sven Muller car is under investigation for pit speeding. It's the Sven Muller and Robert Renauer car. They've already lost out of place because they're now down to P3. And Jules Gounon is P2. This battle, though, between Audi and Mercedes-Benz. Going on for P7 and P8. Indy Doncher in the number 48 Mercedes-Benz car, and Jeffrey Schmidt in the number 2 machine. Jeffrey Schmidt, very, very feisty racer, that's for sure. Raced in Carrera Cup last year, and now here is the Christian Engelhardt Rolf Eichen car, which, having had an off earlier on, has made its way back up to P15. So Rolf Eichen at the wheel of that car. The information being sent to the timing screen is actually saying it's Christian Engelhardt, but it's Rolf Eichen that is driving the car. No further information with regards to the investigation for pit speeding for car number 99 at the moment. As and when we see anything, of course, you'll be the first to know about it. So Rolf Eichen then chasing down that number 6 Lamborghini of Christopher Zanella, and now being driven by Florian Spengler. It's the battle that is going on for P14. Mike Altman behind, and now trying to get past Ezequiel Perez Companc is Patrick Assenheimer in the Mercedes-Benz that he shares with former DTM star Maximilian Gertz. So Ezequiel Perez compact then, and you can see just how much quicker Assenheimer is, but he's got to find a way around. Oh, and the RWT Racing Corvette, which was running in P17 of Sven Bart, has had a coming together with the Audi of Frank Stippler and Mike Ortmann. This in the hotel turn. Well, first of all, unceremoniously turned out is Florian Spengler. And then, with really nowhere to go. Now, how did Christian Engelhardt get out of this? Or Rolf van Eycken, rather. Just able to dive out of it. Look at that. Advantaged, definitely, to Rolf van Eycken. Safety car has been called, unsurprisingly. And what that does do is it's happened to Philipp Eng in the first part of the race, and now it's going to happen to Ricky Collard. The advantage and the huge advantage they've built up is going to be reduced to zero by the safety car having been called. Those two cars are going to have to be recovered. We have, what, 17 minutes left on the clock. Car number 25 is under investigation. Really not surprised by that. So Mike Ortmann then under investigation for that coming together, which took out the Florian Spengler Lamborghini and also the RWT Racing Corvette. There's good reactions from Rolf van Eycken in dialing out of that and not becoming involved at all. So the safety car has picked up the leading car. And the two cars remain stricken then. Right, the speeding infringement alleged of car number 99 ain't the case. No further action is the message we get on the timing screen. So now where that accident has happened, I'm pretty sure that the safety car will actually take the cars through the pit lane to enable recovery to take place. We will see. But as I was mentioning, the one that really is disadvantaged by all this is Ricky Collard in the BMW, because had a huge margin of advantage, a lot of which was built, of course, by Philipp Eng in the first stage of the race. But now, with the safety car called for, and sure enough, the safety car does, as I predicted, take them all through the pit lane. So with that advantage all gone, Jules Gounon will be sensing there's an opportunity here. So the cars all make their way through the pit lane. Tense pressure time for Ricky Collard. He's a BMW Junior, driver of incredible talent though, hence having been picked up by BMW and made one of their junior drivers. Immense single-seater success in the UK. Now finds himself in hugely successful ADAC GT Masters GT package. So the RWT racing team, Maximilian Hacklander, Sven Bart Corvette is nearly out of the way. Might have another lap and this one behind the safety car. And this is the man that will sense there's a real opportunity to take this win. Jules Gounon, of course, at Hockenheim, was the author of the drama that unfolded there. Oh, okay, with the track sweeper gone, it is possible that we could get away with the safety car coming in at the end of this lap and go back to race action. So we keep our eyes on the screens, we keep our eyes on the safety car to see whether the lights go out, but presumably with the towing eye has come adrift. But with the cars out of the way and back into position of safety, the lights are still on the safety car for the moment, and certainly no information up on our screen to suggest that the safety car will come in on this occasion, but actually see any reason why it wouldn't. And there the stricken Corvette out of the race. Sven Muller there. So Sven Bart very disappointed as he walks away from his Corvette through the wheels. No, we have got another lap with the safety car, because once again we're going through the pit lane. Absolutely sure that's necessary now, but race control, of course, have got all the information. Might be there's some further sweeping going on. So the order that we have at the moment is Collard Gounon, then it's Renauer, then we see in P4 it's the Marco Mappelli car. P5 is Ezequiel Perez Companc, and then it's Patrick Assenheimer, Jeffrey Schmidt, Indy Doncia, Salaquada is P9, and Conor Di Filippi is P10. Car number 25 has been referred to the stewards of the meeting, the car shared by Frank Stippler and Mike David Ortman. BWT Mucken Motorsport car, really no surprise there. That's the reason for this safety car period. Now, for the life of me, I can't see why the safety car would not be brought back in at the end of this lap, and we can get back to race, which will mean that we're going to have a final 10 minutes of race action. And indeed, safety car is coming in this lap. Just received confirmation of that on our screens. So it's all down to this BMW junior driver, Ricky Collard, with the pressure right on him now to back the cars all up and make sure he gets a good restart. Lots of pressure, lots of responsibility. Got a great relationship with his driving partner, Philip Eng. Bucketfuls of racing talent as well, it has to be said. So cars weaving from side to side to generate some temperature into the tyres. It really is going to be a 10-minute final flourish for the ADAC GT Masters. So Collard gives it a footful now. Jules Gounon tries to stay with him around turn number 13. And now turn number 14. And Jules Gounon has anticipated the restart from Ricky Collard really rather well. So if Gounon now in the Callaway competition Corvette is going to hound Ricky Collard going into turn number 1. Smooth on the brakes. Super turn in from Collard. And untroubled through the hotel turn, but Jules Gounon sticking with it here. Robert Renauer in the Porsche as well in P3. Collard with all the work to do for the next 9 minutes and 20 seconds to hold at bay the hard-charging Corvette. But in fairness, the BMW has looked really, really pacey today. So Collard then nailing every apex, will try to put together every element of the lap. This is how close Gounon was. Just took a look at the inside, but he's not close enough. And he's trying to line up Collard. Good smooth braking from Ricky. Didn't make a mistake and lock up. And therefore now the pace of the BMW M6 GT3 now beginning to show itself as the margin is up to 0.4 already between Collard and Jules Gounon. And Gounon himself now beginning to come under pressure from this Porsche driver, Robert Renauer. who can sense a P2 possibly up for asking here. The other one to really keep an eye on is the car running in P4, the Marco Mappelli HB Racing Lamborghini Huracan that is up into P4. Meantime, Patrick Assenheimer losing out behind as the cars go two abreast across 2 rows, going through the hotel turn. Assenheimer is hung out to dry around the outside. On board with Kelvin van der Linde, who for lap after lap after lap has had to look at the back end of the Luca Ludwig Mercedes-Benz. Of course, it's Marcus Pommer that's driving that car now as the Audi gets rolled out onto the grass. And Assenheimer again in strife. Contact between them. Assenheimer with some fault and problem with the car now. He's trying to nurse it, but it's not really working. It's Rolf Nijken in the number 63 Lamborghini Huracan trying to take advantage as well. Bear in mind, that car had a spin earlier on in the race. Let's see this replay then. Dirt really being kicked up there. And there was the Honda Di Filippi, Christopher Mees Audi. So all settled down now. So P5 and P6, Ezequiel Perez Compact, and then Jeffrey Schmidt. Lamborghini, then the Audi, and then it's the Indy Doncia Mercedes-Benz that is currently running in P7. Salaquada is P8, Luke Stoltz P9, Marcus Pommer P10. So 6 minutes remaining in this race. Collard has extended the margin to 1.7 seconds now over Jules Gounon. So is untroubled at the front of the pack. Oh, and there's trouble there for the Nissan, and big damage to that car as well. That's going to provoke another safety car straight away for Remo Lips and Patrick Huysman's car. How on earth did that happen? Hopefully we'll get a replay of that. They were running down in the order, but the number 22 car, the front end of that car is really damaged, and you can see with the indentation on the barriers where the contact happened. Now, thankfully, drivers out of the car and all perfectly okay. Just onto the grass, and that was enough to turn the car around, and there is the impact, big impact, and as I say, bending the Armco there. But that means safety car is out again. And there you can see, just initially, it was onto the rumble strips, but then went a bit further and then full pelt into the Armco. So with under 5 minutes of the race remaining, I have a feeling that this could be ended under the safety car, because the recovery of that stricken car is not going to be the work of a moment, I don't think. There it is. And there, well, the Huysman and Remo Lips car is damaged, and that is what has caused the safety car. Let's see it again. As I say, rumble strips first of all, then onto the gravel and onto the grass, and then a full pelt into that Armco barrier. Actually lifted the car, it elevated the car off the ground. Such was the impact. Medical team there just to take a look, and rightly so. You can see the extent of the damage to not only the car but also to the barriers as well. Various bits of debris are put to safety. Safety car takes the cars around, but most importantly, the medical team on there straight away. Lips being attended to. Under 3 minutes left. Just off of turn number 3 where that car is. In fact, safety car heading up towards there now. Just try and get an indication of where we're at in terms of the recovery, but to be honest, I don't see it being done in time. So there, we're on board with the... well, in fairness, the car was being towed away. We were on board with Jules Gounon, just going past the very instant scene. Well, going to be a real dash for cash, that's for sure. And feel just a little bit for the BMW junior driver, Ricky Collard, who's, for 2 times of asking, going to have to restart this race potentially, because we are under 2 minutes now. So the order: Collard, Gounon, Renauer. Then in P4, it's Marco Mappelli. Ezequiel Perez Compact, P5. Jeffrey Schmidt, P6. Indy Doncher is P7. Salaquada is P8. Luke Stoltz, P9. Marcus Pommer, P10. So race director on the radio then. So just need to get that car behind the Armco, which is why the recovery vehicle has turned around to tow it off behind that Armco. I think it's not going to be very easy to steer, truthfully. However, they've done it. We've got 30 seconds on the clock. Safety car is coming in this lap. We're going to get one racing lap then. Well, if Ricky had some pressure before for the safety car restart, I would suggest it's going to be heightened still further. Just needs to keep it nice and cool and calm, but Jules Gounon will sense the opportunity of chance here, potentially to take a win. On board with Robert Renauer. So the latest information we have is that the safety car is coming in this lap. There's Philip Eng, Ricky Collard's teammate, looking on. There is Sven Muller. Robert Renauer, of course, running in P3. So with the safety car coming in, it's whether we're going to get one more lap or whether the cars are just going to be allowed to take the checkered flag. We are out of time. No further information up on the screens. So Collard then backs them all up and gives it a footful now. So too does Jules Gounon in the Callaway competition Corvette. Of course, absolutely no overtaking before the safety car line into turn number 13 before the final turn, which is turn number 14. The green flags are waved. And we are going to have one more racing lap. So, going into hotel turn, Gounon once again takes a look at the Collard BMW. Once again, Ricky cool under braking. Puts the car through the hotel turn well and denies Jules Gounon. Marco Mappelli fancies his chances as well. You can see the tension on the face of Philipp Eng. BMW junior driver Ricky Collard driving that number 42 M6 GT3 and has the remainder of this lap. Car number 19 is under investigation. That's the car of Ezequiel Perez Compac and Mirko Bortolotti. I said Mappelli was getting very lively in P4, but he's got the Robert Renau Porsche ahead. And Robert Renau, with lots of race experience, surely is going to be able to make that Porsche as wide as possible. For the second time of asking on a restart from the safety car, Ricky Collard has done everything that he's been asked of. Lots of debris on the track, through the chicanes. ADAC GT Masters delivers race action in bucketfuls. It delivers drama in bucketfuls as well. The 150th ADAC GT Masters race is won by Ricky Collard and Philipp Eng in the BMW. The maiden win for that car. And the first win in GT Masters for Philipp Eng and the BMW Junior, Ricky Collard. So there is Philipp Eng, absolutely delighted. P2 goes the way of Jules Gounon and Daniel Karwitz, and P3, Robert Renauer and Sven Muller. Ricky Collard and Philipp Eng, race winners in the BMW M6 GT3. Well, said Mappelli was going to have a go, and certainly was prepared to, but in the end it was P4. Well, the 150th race has lived up to all the expectations in terms of drama. And there is the race-winning car. Ezequiel Perez Compac has been given a 30-second time penalty, and Michaela Arlen-Kodalinski and Ricardo Feller's car ends up in the Armco. So here's a replay then of the second safety car restart in the second half of the race. Collard floors it there. Jules Gounon tried very hard, and that's where the damage was, and that's why running in P16 as well. The Audi Sport Racing Academy car is out of the race. So Jules Gounon then didn't quite ultimately have the grunt necessary. Car number 8 is under investigation, which is the Arlen Kodalinski car that we've just seen up against the barriers. On board with Robert Renau, who takes P3. And the cars all head to Parc Fermé. And there is Philipp Eng, waiting to congratulate his teammate. Philipp Eng did a brilliant job in the first part of the race and is thrilled to bits. Those two drivers, both on board and on air with us yesterday for a Formula 4 race, and have done a supreme job. What a debut in GT Masters for BMW Team Schnitzer. What about that? Neither of them are big blokes, but Ricky is the smaller of the two and he's managed to vault Eng into the air. Well done, sir. Fantastic stuff. Great to see those celebrations. And there's Robert Renau. And there is Rob Collard, Ricky's dad. British touring car racer is there to congratulate him. He's got a tear in his eye. That's fantastic to see. So Rob and Ricky Collard and Philipp Eng all there together. What about that? And Charlie Lamb as well from BMW Team Schnitzer. The 150th ADAC GT Masters race is won by the BMW M6 GT3, making its debut in GT Masters this weekend. And Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard, the race winners. Jules Gounon, Daniel Karwitz, P2. Robert Renau, Sven Muller, P3.
Yeah, I see you now.
Jules Gounon then. And Daniel Karwitz. 2 times Jules tried to have a go following the safety cars, but it just quite wasn't to be. Saw really in free practice and also in qualifying, certainly the qualifying today, that BMW really had got it. Really had got the pace, so fantastic result in, as I say, the 150th race of the ADAC GT Masters. Cars head off next, of course, to the Lausitz for that fantastic festival of motorsport with the DTM. So down there in Parc Fermé, there'll be lots of media activity. The drivers will have to be weighed before we head up to the podium. See the drivers being talked to as we speak. Interestingly, the Zach Speed Mercedes of Luca Ludwig and Luca Stoltz taking a P8 in both of the races. So all the activity focused down there in the Parc Fermé area, as you can see. And then the drivers will be off up to the podium, which is a fair stomp from the Parc Fermé area here. And then all thoughts and attention to the next round of the ADAC GT Masters, which is at the Lausitz Ring. May I remind you that the ADAC GT Masters website is a fantastic portal full of information with regards to the ADAC GT Masters series, the cars, the drivers, the personalities, all the teams' information, so much information with full English translation. I urge you to take a look at that, and it will give you a further insight into this brilliant ADAC GT Masters series. We take a super slow-mo of the race-winning car, the BMW, then number 42, driven by Philipp Eng, and in the second stint, driven by the young English star, Ricky Collard. And there's Ricky and Philipp, both of whom, as I say, were in this commentary booth just yesterday in the second Formula 4 race. And they'll be heading off up to the podium right now. And really nice that Rob Collard, Ricky's father, is here to see that GT Masters victory for his son as well. It's a formidable combination, Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard. Philipp Eng with so much race experience, of course, and former Super Cup and Carrera Cup champion. Raced in Formula BMW single-seaters, among others as well. Philipp Eng, and a super guy and a really, really good racer. So in very, very good hands, that Schnitzer Motorsport BMW M6 car. Now, yesterday we had a cameraman that actually followed everyone up to the podium and gave you an indication of just how far it is from Parc Fermé up to the podium here at Oschersleben. Wonder if we'll get the same today. Meantime, drivers all pose for their photographs first of all before making the long trek to the podium. So Sven Muller and Robert Renau, Ricky Collard, Philipp Eng, and then Jules Gounon and Daniel Karwitz all there.
Mein King Sven.
Come. So, on their way now, and Sure enough, our cameraman zooms in on the clock, the Satina clock, and we go back to Parc Fermé to look at the cars that crossed the line, P1, P2, and P3. Mapelé then P4, Jeffrey Schmidt was P5, Indy Doncia with P6, Salaquada was P7, Lucas Stoltz was P8, Marcus Pommer P9, and Connor De Filippi. Of course, the Connor De Filippi car carrying the number 1 by dint of the championship win last year, finishing in P10. So drivers on their way now, and the podium will be got on with pretty rapidly, I can assure you, because there's still plenty of race action to come here at Oschersleben before the day is out. Up next, it's the fantastic ADAC TCR Racing, which is next out on track. Of course, featuring an English driver as well. Josh Files, I think, memory serves me, took the win yesterday. So 3 different manufacturers take the top 3 places. BMW, Corvette, and Porsche. Super Sports Car League, proving how well the cars are matched, and supreme driving talent also. ADAC-GT-Masters.de is the website, with, as I say, full English translation available as well. Please do check it out. It'll give you plenty of information about the GT Masters. And you can hear our track announcer here, readying the podium. So any moment now, the podium ceremony will be got underway. So the ADAC Festival of Motorsport, which comes up next at the Lausitz-Ring. One really not to be missed on that fantastic facility. Here then, the full classification. Collard Eng taking the win from Jules Gounon and Karwitz P2. Then it's Renauer and Muller. Then Mapelli and Siedler, Schmidt and Haas. Then it was Indy Doncia and Kirchhofer with Salaquada and Winkelhock and Stoltz and Ludwig taking P8. And then it was Marcus Pommer, Kelvin van der Linde, and Connor De Filippi and Christopher Mies taking P10. Rest of the order there. Incredible driving, incidentally, from Rolf Eichen and Christian Engelhardt, considering the spin earlier on to be able to make it up to P12. Very, very good driving from the Lamborghini pairing in that car. We lost a few, of course we did, and there were a number of safety car moments, which just added to the drama. So, it's Collard and Eng that lead by 1 point going into the next round at the Lausitz-Ring over Michael Ammermuller and Matteo Jaminet, who in turn are 4 points ahead of Sven Muller and Robert Renauer. So, all set for a fantastic pair of races that will come at the Lausitz-Ring. All the information, once again, do check out the website, ADAC-GT-Masters.de with full English translation. Right. We look down the pit lane, and the podium is to the very right, as you can see, in the podium preparation area. There they go, Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard then, race winners. Jules Gounon and Daniel Karwitz then. It's P2. Sven Muller and Robert Renau then taking the P3 place. I wonder if Charlie Lamb is going to be up on the podium. Nope. National anthem time.
So dürfen wir den wohlverdienten Lohn der Arbeit überreichen. Hermann Tomczyk, der ADAC-Sportpräsident, hat die Trophäen in den Händen für die Aufsieger.
Well, the ADAC Sports President Herman Tomczyk makes the trophy presentation to Ricky Collard and also to Philipp Eng. P1. Ulrich Kramer then makes the presentations to Jules Gounon and Daniel Karwitz. And Thomas Burkhardt, ADAC Vice President for Technic, to Sven Muller and Robert Renauer. And Philipp Ritter, the brand manager of Certina, makes the team's presentation. So they pose for the photographs before the champagne will be unleashed. So the celebrations on the podium here at the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben for the 150th ADAC GT Masters race, won by BMW and Philipp Eng and Ricky Collard. Make sure you join us for Lausitzring for the next round of the ADAC GT Masters.
Also Sie haben jetzt gerade gesagt, Sie hätten euch gerne da vorne an der Barriere, nächst den Pokal, damit wir einige Bilder noch kriegen. Barrierefrei sozusagen. In der Zeit wird nämlich hier oben gleich dann noch ein kleines bisschen umgebaut. Hier oben stehen erstmal Ihre Laufsieger aus dem zweiten Rennen des Jahres 2017. Ricky Collard und Philipp Eng sowie Jules Gounon, Daniel Karwitz, Robert Renauer und Sven Müller und die erfolgreiche Mannschaft. Ja, Michael Körper hat sich schon dezent abgeseilt. Ist von unten weggeblieben. Dann nehmen wir natürlich gerne jetzt noch die eine oder andere Stimme dann in dieser Zeit, die wir gerne hören würden. Achso, ja, machen wir es mal. Genau, so ist es. Ricky Collard und Philipp Eng gehören natürlich erstmal auf das Siegerfoto drauf. Philipp, bleib am besten mal hier. Ich kann jetzt nur sagen, herzlichen Glückwunsch zu einem Laufsieg, der zu erwarten war. Fragezeichen, wenn man mit einem neuen Team in eine solche Rennserie einsteigt.
Auf keinen Fall. Also der Fahrer und Team, die Teamqualität in der ADAC GT Masters ist heutzutage so extrem hoch. Und da werden in jedem Rennwochenende die Karten neu gemischt. Das Team Schnitzer und wir beide sind relativ neu in der Serie, obwohl ich schon mal in der Vergangenheit hier war, aber da hat sich auch einiges getan. Da muss man erst die neuen Regeln verstehen, man muss die Leistung verstehen, man muss einfach verstehen, wie so ein Wochenende abläuft. Ich glaube, unsere Lernkurve war sehr, sehr steil und dass wir jetzt hier oben unten natürlich die Jungs als